the administrator walks by, somebody please tell me so I can hide my phone.
All right, guys. So let's give them the most attention that you possibly can, all right? And I'll turn it over to them. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves so it'll be
Okay.
easy.
Well, hello, I am Sarah Smith. I am the new health recruiter out at SCC. I started in May, and I'm just trying to get, used to things and learn more about Jim's program. I'm not an expert, so I brought him today so that he can talk to you about his program. He teaches EMT and emergency tech and paramedic. So he's here today to tell you all about that. And then when you're done, I have a few handouts about the program and information on what you could get started on, if you want to get into that field. And then please take a piece of candy if you like, okay? So this is Jim Steffen. He's gonna tell you all about it.
Hello, everyone. So, believe it or not, this is I'm 58 years old. This is the third time I've been in the high school, not on an ambulance call, since I graduated. I don't know if it's avoidance, but nonetheless, I just have not been in high schools very much. The one time I've been here, and that was for my niece's a concert or something a number of years ago. Well, at any rate, I've been a paramedic since 1989, so a long time. Unless some of you have been set back a number of times, I'm sure that's before you were born. Mr. Carper told us that you guys are in a public safety class, right? Right, yes? So what I would ask, so I teach via something called the Socratic method. What that means is I like to ask questions and have you answer questions, okay? Now, if you don't answer questions, this is going to be an incredibly boring 40 minutes, okay? You have to cooperate with me while I ask the question. So, my question is, what is public safety? So someone please tell me what your opinion is. What is your definition of public safety? Crickets. Don't make me call on somebody. Okay, you call on somebody. So the good news is you get yours out of the way. And so we'll pick on somebody else next time. So it's just, there's no wrong answer. Sure you do. What is public? What is public? What does public mean? Okay, what does safety mean? There you go. See, this isn't so hard. It really isn't so hard. Public safety is a set of career fields that work towards ensuring a populace that is healthy, that is safe, and that is secure. That's what public safety is. Okay? He also said you just talked about paramedics. So tell me how paramedics work with public safety. How we are public safety people. All right, I'm gonna start. I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
AJ.
AJ. So tell me, AJ, what about? I gave you my definition of public safety. She gave you her definition of public safety. Tell me why you think paramedics are part of public safety.
Because sometimes they can go on calls, and then there's other law enforcement already there and stuff, and then they can work with them and cooperate with them as well.
Sure. So her point is that we as paramedics go to people and help them, and that is a part of safety. Safety is not just arresting someone because they robbed a gas station. Safety is also things like injury prevention. We do a lot of stuff in injury prevention. For instance, sometimes we go into people's houses and look for things that they might trip over so that we can prevent them from tripping, falling, and breaking their hip. Because the easiest way to take care of somebody with a broken hip is to prevent their hip from breaking in the first place. That's part of the public safety role that we do. So EMS, Emergency Medical Services, which is my chosen career field. Like I said, 1989 is when I started. I very much backdoored into it. I left the military and I was looking for a job. And I found a job as a security guard. The security guard, the security company said, we will pay you an extra 25 cents an hour to do an EMT class. So I took it and became an EMT, then a paramedic. Then I've done a bunch of stuff. I was a training officer, I was an operations officer, I was the director of an ambulance service, then a paramedic, then an educator, and now I'm the program director for the paramedic program at Southeastern Community College. How many of you have been to my lab? How many of you have seen me at the college? Like, come there for a day? You can raise your hand, you don't have to talk this time. Nobody. Okay. We see a lot of students, I of course don't recognize many of you a lot of the time because I see a lot of students. I encourage you at some point, if you have interest in a paramedic program, I encourage you to come and look at the different programs. If you change your mind, want to go to a different health science, if you want to do criminal justice, come see us. So, just with a show of hands, how many of you have interest in being criminal justice?
Anybody here want to be
A cop. I'm sorry, a cop. A few of you. Great. What about emergency medical services, paramedics? Maybe one. Good. Great. He went like this. I am perfectly fine with that. You're way too young to know for sure what it is that you want to do. Way too young. If you'd allow me to say, you don't have anywhere near the life experience to decide. When I was your age, I wanted to be a lawyer. That's what I wanted to do. And then I realized how much class I had to do, and that pretty much ended that. But nonetheless, it's flexible. How many of you want to be a firefighter? Maybe. We're back to the maybe again. Okay, that's great. So, what do you suppose? I'm going to get to our paramedic program here in just a little bit. But what do you suppose you need to do when you're choosing a career? I love saying this because I think this is something that you can really take to heart. It does not matter what you want to do. How do you suppose you can find out more about a career you're interested in? How do you suppose? It's okay. You can answer this. This is an easy one. Yes?
Research.
How? You're right. How? What can you do to research?
You can like look up some like salaries, or like you can find information somewhere in like articles and stuff like that.
Sure. That online research, great option. You can watch videos. There's some great videos out there about how to be a paramedic, how to be a cop. What else? You can, what could you do? Yes, ma'am.
You can talk to people.
There we go. That's what I was going with. That's what I was hoping for. So, if you wanted to be a police officer, who do you suppose you could talk to get more information about being a police officer? If there was only someone in this building that you could talk to about being a police officer, who could you possibly talk to? Him. That guy back there. Now, the next question is, what are you going to ask him? What are you going to ask him? Now, he may have spoiled this already by doing what I'm going to ask, but we'll see. What are you going to ask him? Not things like salary and wages, because you can find that out online. Where can you work? You find that out too. What are you going to ask him? Yes?
Like what he did and didn't like about the job.
Oh, see, she sort of spoiled it. What he liked about the job. So you always ask someone, what did you like about being a police officer, in his case? Or me, what did you like about being a paramedic? Because that's good stuff. But the other thing she said is more valid and more important. What did you hate about being a police officer? In my case, what did you hate about being a paramedic? Why do you suppose it's important to ask what they hated about the job? I don't want to minimize this. It does not matter if you want to be an engineer, a phlebotomist, a doctor, a lawyer, a construction worker. You always need to find out the bad stuff. Why? Why do you suppose? Yes?
So you can get a more like realistic view.
That's exactly right. Because you want the real. You have to have the real. Because the good stuff will always, always, always be the good stuff. But the bad stuff will always be the bad stuff. And as you get older, the bad stuff is going to impact you quite a bit more. You're going to feel the bad stuff. Now, I could say, now you should ask me what the bad stuff is about being a paramedic. But I'm going to tell you. You don't have to ask me that. And for me, everybody is different. Everybody would think, I have literally seen the most bloody, gorific, that's one of my words, by the way, is gorific, calls that you can possibly imagine. It simply does not bother me. I don't mean to be macabre, but I could paint the walls of this room with somebody's blood and it would not affect me. It would not faze me. Let's not do that. But nonetheless, I could. What bothers me more than anything else is the fact that I can never plan when I work as a paramedic. I still work part-time as a paramedic. When I work as a paramedic, I can never plan for something right after I get off work. We work, when I work, at the ambulance service down in Lee County. We work 24-hour shifts. I get off at 8 o'clock in the morning. So often when I work a 24-hour shift from Saturday morning at 8 till Sunday morning at 8. My wife and I cannot make plans at 8:30 or 9 o'clock because it is a reasonable expectation that I'm going to have a late call or late paperwork and won't be able to be off on time. Now you may think that that is like a little minimal thing, but it's not in my life. That's the part that gets to me because it affects my family, my wife. Adds stress to her life and makes things a little more difficult. Whenever you decide what it is that you want to do, or think you've narrowed down what it is that you want to do, find somebody in that field. Ideally, find somebody who's been in that field for a while and ask them, what do you like? And then what do you not like? And then decide for yourself, am I going to be able to handle that not like? Is that something that I can do? And you can apply that to more than a job. I heard an announcement this morning in the creative writing, for the creative writing club program, something like that. If you are thinking about joining the creative writing program, maybe there's good things, maybe there's bad things about being a member of the club. Always research the good and the bad before you do anything. It will help you. Now, a little bit about my program, our program, Southeastern. Emergency Medical Services is a 4-semester program that will take you from being an EMT, an emergency medical technician, all the way through being a paramedic. So I know you've studied this, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit anyway. An emergency medical technician is the baseline person in an ambulance. It is the person with the least training in the ambulance. Some ambulance services rely on EMTs exclusively. Those tend to be volunteers, more rural ambulances, but the EMT tends to be the lowest training, often is the person who's only been in the field for a short period of time. Paramedic has much more training. A little bit of difference in skills. EMTs focus on non-pharmaceutical treatments. They don't give drugs. They're limited in the amount of cardiovascular care. Paramedics can pretty much give any medication, do pretty much any airway procedure. You could make an analogy of a paramedic being a nurse. We're not the same thing. Our training is fairly close, but it's not the same thing. right? So the paramedic is 3 semesters long. The EMT is 1 semester long. The paramedic is 3 semesters long. We offer those courses at the college. The EMT course starts every fall, spring, and summer, and the paramedic course starts every August. So we just started our new paramedic course. Now, I see that was that Monday, the 30th, whatever day the 30th was, Monday, you were visited by Hillary Beard, one of my all-time favorite people. She was one of my students a few years back at Burlington Fire. That's one of the places you can work as a paramedic, is in a fire department. Most paramedics work for an ambulance service, and ambulance services can be multiple types of service. Let me give you an example. The ambulance service here in Burlington is at the fire department. It's a fire-based ambulance service. The ambulance service in Lee County is an entity of the government. We work for the county in Lee County. In Mount Pleasant, Henry County, it's the same thing. They work for the county. Superior Ambulance, which is based at the hospital in West Burlington, is based out of a hospital. So you can work multiple places. In addition to that, you don't have to work for an ambulance service. You don't have to work for an ambulance service. You can work in a hospital as a technician or something like that. There's a lot of different roles that you can take as a paramedic. Often people ask me, what do paramedics make? In other words, how much money do they make? Because that's a very important thing, right? And this is what I tell my paramedic students when they ask me a lot of questions. The answer is it depends. There's a lot. The national average for a paramedic with 4 years of experience, I believe, is $67,000 a year. My salary when I work for the ambulance service down there in Lee County, when I do work, is $36 an hour, if that tells you anything, but I've been doing it a long time, so I have a lot of experience, right? It is comparable in pay to other public safety officers, police, fire, etc., right? The next thing that I would like to talk about is what skills can you learn to be a good public safety officer, whether you want to be police, whether you want to be fire, or whether you want to be EMS. What skills can you learn now? One of them, I have a feeling you're better with your friends than you are in this classroom. Anybody want to say what that is? Take a shot. What do you do better with your friends in the hallway between classes? There you go. See, he's a smart guy right there. Communication. The single most important skill. I think as a paramedic, I have no experience as a police officer, I wouldn't say, but the single most beneficial skill as a paramedic is the ability to communicate. You have to be able to talk to people in uncomfortable situations. You have to be able to ask them questions. You have to be able to talk to them and say, what's happened? What's going on? And you have to be able to ask them questions about bodily functions that would make most people turn red. Things like, is there a chance you could be pregnant? Or something like that. Have you used drugs? Communication is real. Math, for us, I will teach you all the math you need. I'll teach you all the science you need. Anatomy, chemistry. I'll teach you what you need. But communication is very difficult. Besides communication is writing skills. And I don't mean penmanship. I mean your ability to communicate via paper and pen or computer. The ability to type something coherently into it. How am I doing for time? I'm doing all right, ain't I?
Yep.
What I got, 15 minutes?
15 minutes.
Okay, I'm doing okay. The ability to write something that someone else can read that makes sense. So many people write something that makes perfect sense to you and no one else can understand. You have to be able to communicate verbally with people, via the written word with people. And the other thing that you have to do is be able to communicate with body language. I coax paramedics. My paramedic students often want to stand like this. You can't stand like that. In the real world, Standing like this is an abject demonstration of apathy. What is apathy? You don't care. I heard the word. You don't care. Standing like this is an abject demonstration of apathy. When you arrive at someone's house, you don't want apathy to be the emotion that people see from you. Now, the last thing that I'm going to cover before I take the questions that you have on your sheets is, what's the best thing about being a paramedic? And this one is easy. This one is easy. It was the best thing the day I started as a paramedic, and it's the best thing now, even though I only work part-time as a paramedic. And that is the fact that there is someone who picks up a phone and calls 911 and calls me. This may be the worst day of their entire life, and they call me, and I get to help, maybe make things a little bit better for them. I get to try and come help them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. People die. It's a rule. But they call me, and the feeling that I get for coming and helping people is the greatest ever. The greatest ever. Okay, let's see your questions. What do you got on your page? Who wants to start? You want to start? Yeah, go ahead.
When do you start writing?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
When do you start writing?
So the first semester that you take classes as an emergency medical technician, you do both clinical and field experiences, meaning that you will ride along. Now that is if you wait until you're trained or in training. You can join Explorers and ride on ambulance calls right now. At least I think. Okay, I thought. As soon as I said that, I thought, uh-oh, maybe that wasn't true. But you can do that now. You can see for yourself what you don't want.
What are the requirements to enter the
So to be an emergency medical technician student, which is the first of the 4 semesters, to be an emergency medical technician student, almost certainly any of you would qualify. There's a background check, which is pretty easy to pass. There, believe it or not, is no minimum age to attend the class. There is a minimum age to become certified, and that's 18, but to attend the class, there's not. You can actually attend the class, become certified, no, let me rephrase. Attend the class, pass all of the testing, and then on your 18th birthday, they'll automatically grant you a certification. That comes automatically. For a paramedic, you must be 18. You must be certified as an EMT, so you have to complete that first. You also must be a high school graduate or equivalent before you can start the paramedic course, right? That is a state of Iowa rule. I'll let you write. What's next? What's the next question? Somebody read the next question. I'll read it myself. Is it the last one?
Yeah.
Can I do any of the coursework when I'm still in high school? Absolutely. I teach 1 semester of EMT every year. I actually taught 2 last year. One I taught last year included 3 or 4 members of Wapello High School's graduating class. I've had graduating students from here, from West Burlington. I've had high school students from all over the place who have taken the class. They do it through concurrent enrollment. That pretty much is the extent of my knowledge about it. I really don't know much more about it than
That's
that.
great. When they sign up through high school pays for everything.
Yeah.
They pay for your tuition, they pay for your books, everything you need.
I should have led with that. And it's college credit, right? How many of you plan on going to college? Maybe? Yes? Good. It's college credit. If you decide that you want to be an accountant, that will count as an elective. At absolute worst, it was free electives. It's free. Other than your time. Your time is never free. So, what do I have? I have 10 minutes, right?
10 minutes.
So I would really like some questions from you about the field as an emergency medical technician paramedic. Anything at all? Anything at all? So this is the uncomfortable part. Let me ask myself a question. Jim, what's the worst call you've ever been on in your entire life? Oh, that's a great question. Let me answer that. I'm not even a snicker. You guys are rough crowd. Okay. The answer is, for me, it is not babies who have died. It is not kids who have died. It is not people who are shattered into 1,000 pieces on the ground. That is not it. The worst call I ever was on was a car accident. And in the car accident, a man died. And that is routine. Maybe not routine, but it happens. Okay? People die. It's a rule. I pulled up to the car, the man was obviously dead. And we were doing our thing. There was no one else hurt. We were doing our thing. And behind that car pulls up another car. They stop 100 feet behind the accident, and in that car was this man's wife and kids, the one who died in the accident. They had gotten a phone call from a friend who drove by the accident and saw that this man was injured, had been in an accident, recognized the car. That was the worst call. Watching the reaction of the wife and the kids to the fact that their husband and father was dead was pretty traumatic. I do not have nightmares very often about this job. I did about that one, about the fact that we couldn't do anything to help it. That was the worst. That was not too long after I started this, and that's one of only about 2 or 3 calls that I've ever had issues with. And that was the worst call ever. Okay, so I asked myself a question. Yes, you had your hand in the air. You have to come up with a question now. She had her hand in the air.
What is the best thing about your job?
Well, I sort of touched on one thing. Let me touch on another one. Number one, I provide work, and in return, they provide me with money. So one of the great things about my job is they pay me, okay? So that was another joke that you guys completely ignored. That's okay. The money's okay, right? So that's number one. Number two, it's exciting. Again, this is my 35th year. It's exciting. It's fun. I mean, it's fun. Now, not everybody's going to agree that it's fun. Not everyone is going to agree that someone who's pooped their pants is fun. But we get called for people who poop their pants, right? That's fun. I get to talk to different people who do different things, who think different things. And it's fun. It's just fun. It's just a blast. It's just fun. And again, it's not for everyone. Not everybody's going to look at it and say, well, that sounds fun. That's okay. That's okay. Not everybody's going to be a paramedic. Not everybody's going to nurse, doctor, police officer, firefighter, whatever. Not everybody's going to do. I loathe the idea of being a firefighter. I have absolutely no idea. If you put that hood and mask on my face, someone's going to get trampled as I run away. That's the way it is. I have zero interest in ever being a police officer, because if I show up and someone's got a gun, I'm leaving. I don't want to be there. That's not my thing, right? But give me somebody who's pooped their pants, I'm all about that. I'm all about that. I mean, pooping their pants is not as fun as other stuff, but I get to talk to people who think differently than other people. It's cool. I had a person in my ambulance probably a year ago who I was taking him to another hospital, from one hospital to another, and I spent an hour talking to him. He's a POW, a prisoner of war from World War II. And he talked to me that whole trip about that. I never would have gotten a chance to talk to somebody like that. I just chatted with him about it. By the way, he was a German who was in an American POW camp. He was here as a POW from Germany. It was great conversation. Had a great time with him. So anyway, I've got 5 more minutes. What's that?
I'll ask a question.
Sure.
What education did you need to teach at the college?
Oh, that's a great question as well. I have a bachelor's degree in adult education, then an associate's degree as well. But I have a bachelor's degree in adult education. That is that is the minimum requirement for the accrediting body that I teach with, is a bachelor's degree.
What was your best memory of
Okay, let me think about that. Can I have 10 seconds? Let me have 10 seconds. Some of you are not going to think this is the best. I walked into a house, a report of a woman in labor. I walked into a house. There's a 16-year-old girl, and she's sitting on the edge of a tub, a bathroom tub. And the baby is about 20% delivered, and I delivered the rest of the baby. That happens fairly often. I think I've got 16 babies that I've delivered now. So I delivered the baby the rest of it. She was 16 years old. I delivered the baby the rest of it. The baby is a little premature, but healthy, crying, and happy. So we're processing her. We're packaging her up. And as we're loading her to take her out to the ambulance, her and the baby, who are very healthy, very happy, her parents arrived. And her parents had no idea she was pregnant. And her parents said, she said to me, with her parents right there is no way that I could be pregnant. And I said to her, sometimes I have a mouth that runs away. I said to her, well, you're not. Now. That's one of my favorite stories. It was rather shocking. The parents, the look on their face was fun. The delivery of the baby terrifies me. Every time it happens, it terrifies me because the risk is so high. In other words, you have a beautiful, young, new life that is at risk, but once it's over, it's the greatest feeling in the world. I will say that. How's that? Because what made it memorable is the parents. Anything else? Any more questions? I love to answer questions. It's a great time.
You got any close calls? Like somebody.
Like getting hurt?
And they somehow came out good?
I'm sorry, the last part?
They somehow came out fine.
Oh, you mean somebody with a close call that almost died? Or I had a close call from somebody who was violent.
Like safe.
Then I saved them. Oh, for goodness sakes. I wouldn't even, hundreds of them. I've had people who died literally as I was walking up to them. They took their last breath, and then we gave them more breath. In other words, walking up to somebody who's lying in a ditch covered in blood, mouth full of blood, and as I walk up, the last bubbles of air leave their body, and we were able to clear their airway and do all that stuff. That happens. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's happened a bunch of times. Now, I don't want to do the whole hero complex, because there's literally thousands of people who would have done the exact same thing that I did, but I got to do it, right? I got to do it, and that's just so cool that I got to do it. Now, I'll touch on that. Sometimes people don't like us very well. I've been stabbed before by a patient. It was a patient with lung cancer. It was about an 80-year-old man with lung cancer. He was hypoxic, which means low oxygen levels in his blood. That made his mental status altered. He thought I was trying to suffocate him when I put a mask on his face to help him breathe, and he had a pair of scissors, and he stabbed me. I was more surprised than I was hurt. That's the only time really I've been hurt. I had a little old lady that I picked up to move her from her bed to our stretcher. She punched me in the face. She opened her eyes, looked at me, and went about 5 times right in my face. That's about the only 2 times really I've been hurt. It's okay. It's now I can sit here and laugh about it. Then I was like, like this. More questions? We got time for like one more. Nothing, huh? Well, I thank you for allowing me to come to your school and to your classroom. If you ever have any questions or problems, you let me know. Is it time? I'll let you head to go.
All right, guys, let's give it up for him, please.